And one.
Grand Rising. This is the Straight Talk Morning Show, Straight Talk Network. My name is Andre Hill, your host, and our co-host and engineer. We have our chairman of the United Aboriginal American Republic, the solution for all melanated people, Terrence Lake. How you doing this morning, sir?
Grand Rising, everyone. It's a beautiful day today. Yesterday we had a little bit of winter. It seemed like it was so cold.
Oh,
It looks good
already?
today.
All right. Okay. Also, we have our co-host and engineer, um, Andre Hill Jr. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Peace and love, family. Peace and love.
So this show is going to be an unusual show because we're no longer hesitating. We are revealing the truth. It's time for you to wake up, grow up, put your big boy and your big girl drawers on, and man up. Because we're at that precipice. We've been at it for quite some time, but a lot of our melanated people, our men are still hesitant of manning up. I don't know if it's confusion or lack of trust. For me and the chairman's generation, we're sincere, but we're gonna keep bringing it to you and bringing it to you live. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and post what I put on Facebook, what the topics are for today, and this is going to be interesting because it talks about the economic system we're in and the basis behind it. All right, so good afternoon, family. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Straight Talk Network and on YouTube. You got to hit the live button. And I also posted the link where you can go directly to YouTube and watch us. Melanated people need to make a serious adjustment in their minds against the reptilian European capitalistic or capitalist system. This economy was strictly designed to enslave the human species. We will explain why. If you're worried about the nuts you have swirled away in the banks, you should be. No problem. We have an alternative. Facebook still have not responded to our appeal to reinstate our show live on Facebook. We believe the issue exists within the pages of our book, lucifersrevenge.net. Get a copy and find out why. Tune in and be enlightened. So, I get these downloads on a regular basis. And I got a download the early part of the week about this economy and how it operates. And, the chairman and I, we've seen it operating for quite some time. We've seen it through corporate America. We've seen it through the banks. We've seen it through so many different variations. And at the end of the day, you got this one group that's controlling the ball, the economics. And, in football, I refer to it as whether you're on offense or defense. Now, all the melanated people on the planet has basically been operating on defense. If you understand what football is all about, the team with the ball, typically they're on offense. The team that's trying to get the ball is on defense. And for some ungodly reason, the offense has been operated by the mentally deranged, psychotic one percenters. I mean, they have organized a very shrewd economic game where they keep the ball. They got all the refs, in their corner, and all the rules are helping them. And so I had to operate from a dual-minded perspective. On one hand, you got the one percenters that wrote the rules, and then you have the reptilian agenda operating in the dark behind them. And so the way I look at it is that the reptilian agenda, these are entities that are very old. Chairman, I sent you also a video about this reptilian basically making this announcement that they've been here since the beginning of time. They've been operating from the subterranean parts of the world, and they're basically saying this is their planet, and we're just an experiment on the surface, and doing their will. And so they start wars, and they start these wars basically because the reptilians don't mind having humans on their menu. So we're going to kick this back and forth, to try to give you the fundamentals and the foundation of that arrangement between the reptilians and the surface people, which is us, humanoids, and the Galactic Council. So there are three parties involved, So, hey, Chairman, you have seen this system operating a few years longer than I have. And there's a common denominator. There's a constant, there's one theme that we've always noticed. When we try to do things, try to get financing, unless you're part of a cult, it's hard for you to get it going. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's so true. There's always roadblocks in the way. You got to have this, you got to have that, where other people don't have to have the same qualifications that you have to get something, and that's been going on, for a long time. It's like getting a job and trying to move up in that job position. You've got to jump over hoops. You got to be twice as smart in order to get it, because that opposition like to be in control. And even though it's not good for humanity as a whole, it slows down the progress of our survival, of our creating this heaven on earth. We're getting the wrong people in positions that shouldn't be there. And that is always going to slow down the process of creating something good. And like I say, they'll do anything by hook or crook, to keep us down. That's the way it's always been. I don't think it's going to always be that way, because we're getting smarter. We're learning the ropes, and this younger generation, like my grandchildren and great grandchildren, they're little geniuses, but we just got to feed them the truth, because like they say, the truth will set you free. It's too many of us that don't know the truth, and that's the biggest problem. You've been told so many different things. That's the clash right there. He knows this and he sees it this way, and she knows that and she sees it that way, and it just won't come together. It's always conflict. But we got to come together in order to make this right, because there's more than enough for all of us. But there's a certain group of people that feel there's too many people on this planet, that they got to be annihilated in some way, shape, or form, just like these wars that are happening. That's man-made. That's not nature. Man is creating these wars. And I'm quite sure most people are listening to the news and they're seeing what's happening over there in Ukraine and Russia and in the Middle East. That's all man created. We weren't put here to war and fight. We were put here to solve these problems and come together. But with this, like you say, reptilian mentality, demonic individuals, they don't want to see peace. They don't want to, because they're always blocking.
Hey, that sounds familiar to me, Chairman. Part of, I'm proud as an Aboriginal in the Americas to tell people that I'm a third generation entrepreneur. And so there's a rite of passage. My son is experiencing, he's learning the various tactics of how you survive, in running your own business. So I want him to give some input in terms of his experiences. And the rite of passage, with me being a third generation entrepreneur, and he is now a fourth generation entrepreneur. He's taking all of the experiences that I had, that his grandparents have had, and his great grandparents has brought us to this point. And his job is to improve the tactics of survival. He's had some serious run-ins with working with this, and you know, as me being the father, I kind of have to step back and allow him the opportunity to experiment, to try his hand, and then fail. You know, because failure is not really failure. It's like preparing you to get better, so that when you do run into opposition or barricades, it toughens you up. So I want him to expand on, coming from his generation, being born in the 80s, what he's gone through, because I'm hoping that the listeners can relate and say, well, hey, it ain't me that I'm weak, or something wrong with me. It's these same barricades are set up for everybody. But hey, man, go ahead and tell us what you've gone
through. Gone through a lot, you know. I mean, I ain't young, like as young as I used to be. I'm almost 40 now, right? And yeah, it's been an interesting journey, getting to the point of realizing, I guess, what entrepreneurship is going to be, especially for, like you say, the fourth generation, right? So, you know, when I embarked on this, confidently, my mind state was, it's not about me wanting to amass a lot of dollars. And I was like, my goal was not necessarily get rich and just make a lot of money, right? Just in order to, sustain whatever endeavor I was involved in. Where I picked up was, epiphany came to me, and I said to myself, you know what? We need to own, control, and produce, at minimum, all of our basic resources. Right? That's where it started for me. And so, I had a background in construction. I quit my job at, let's say, I don't know, like back in like 2017, 2018. That was the last time I worked a consistent W-2 job. Last time I did that. And I went back to school for agriculture. And like I said, I really immersed myself in the thought process of, okay, what is it going to take for us to get to the point of where we can print our own money? Be quite honest with you, right? And so I said, what's the best way we can do that? We have to be completely autonomous. We have to have our own society again, for lack of in other words, I guess it wasn't even it wasn't a reinvention of the wheel. I just essentially went back to, let's say, what was this, the 20s, where they were in before, let's say, the 1860s to the 1920s, where Black people own their own towns. That was my mind state. Like, well, we got to get back to that. We got to get back to that, because that's the only way we're really going to have a equal footing and chance in this country economically. So, as far as, trying different endeavors, different business ideas here and there, different business ventures here and there, some of them failed, some of them worked. Just to be straightforward, classic story everybody goes through. Some of them fail, some of them work. That's how it goes. But outside of that, what I take really, really serious is our state of autonomy. And so that's what I call a fourth generation entrepreneur, evolving, the experiences of my lineage. So, and of course, this is why we have established the tribal nation state of the United Aboriginal American Republic. This is what that turned into, right? Because that gives us the option to own our own land, and I mean truly own it. It gives us the option to establish our own economic system. It gives us the option to, let's say, sustain and produce all of our own basic resources. And it also gives us the option to, let's say this, it gives us the option to wake up every day and ask ourselves, well, what is it that I want to do today that is solely for a movement and benefit of our people? So, saying all of that to say this, landing that plane. That's what I experienced, and this is what it has turned into. And I don't see any other. Let's say, efficient path for let's say, because we're talking about our people. I don't see any other efficient path economically and or politically for us to get any kind of leverage, footing, and or respect in this world, let alone this country.
All right. So that's the generation that we are dependent on to, well, my son's generation, to maintain our heritage, to keep, our culture, or reestablish our Aboriginal culture, for survival purpose. I mean, I think we all have an innate ability or instinct to survive. And I'm trying to tap into the elders, the people that are me and the chairman's generation, because we're sitting back and we're going like, okay, well, we got our Social Security. We didn't try to prepare these younger generations, and they won't listen. Well, so they're supposed to listen to us say to do what? Go work for these mentally deranged psychotic maniacs and wait on your pension? They're seeing what we're going through, and that's not clicking with them, So we've been bringing this information on this talk show since 2017. We've been explaining to you what's coming, and a lot of you still sit back. Even in my hometown of Tampa, I can calculate how many books are being sold out of this particular region, and there are very few books that are being sold, unless Amazon is lying to us, and that's something that we're going to have to follow up on as well. But every elder, just in the Tampa Bay area, if they would have gone out and purchased a book, those funds would have gone into an account that's going to save their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, because a lot of people in my generation have great-grandchildren now. So, and to build an institution for your children. You know, my son and I are dedicating a large percentage of the resources from the sale of the books to building this nation. So the book, as demonstrated, if Facebook shut down our show, this must be something in that book that's very powerful to empower you to help your children. You know, so you know, just listening to my son, I mean, he's sharp, he's smart, but that institution, he does not have the capabilities or the authorization to put an institution in place to go and join those 120 nations that are getting ready to join the BRICS currency and say to them, you know, we're tired of this racism for 400 years here in the where the United States have invaded our land, and we want to be a party. There's a process. You know, the chairman and I, and we have several other elders that are prominent, that's sincere about this, from my age